look like under the microscope, and you can see some of the halos already in the biotite flakes. So there were polonium-210 radiohalos found throughout all the biotites, throughout all the metamorphic zones. But the polonium-214 and 218 and uranium radiohalos were only found in the highest grades of rock, the highest metamorphism, and in the granite itself. And the radiohalo numbers increased progressively inwards into the granite. In fact, I've got a diagram in a minute to illustrate that, and it matches, the quantity of radiohalos matches the volume of hydrothermal fluids that would have been involved in both the metamorphism and the granite intrusion. So here's some of these radiohalos. That's in the granite. You can see the uranium, which are the bigger ones, polonium-210 in this instance. Remember, this road with the samples was a traverse through these zones. From the left is the lowest metamorphism, to the right is the highest into the granite. And this is what the plot of radiohalos looked like. It went up, it dropped, and then went up again. And I'm going to go into the technical details at the conference, but it's clearly, obviously related. It is related to the amount of water in the rocks when they were metamorphosed and when the granite formed and the rocks cooled to produce those radiohalos. So again, this is again illustrating that not only granite formation but metamorphism is a rapid process. Let me close with ongoing research. In Cornwall we have granites that contain huge numbers of polonium and uranium radiohalos. But the Cornwall granite also hosts veins that contain tin, copper, uranium, lead, zinc in fractures where hydrothermal fluids generated by the granite have carried the metals and deposited them in the cracks and the fractures. And so there seems to be the huge number of radiohalos reflects the large volumes of hot waters that were carrying those metals into those veins. It's interesting that in Robert Gentry's work, there were minerals in Germany, fluorite mineral in Germany, which is another host of a mineral that hosts uranium and polonium radiohalos, and biotites in Canada that also had huge numbers of uranium radiohalos in them. What he didn't report was that these minerals are associated with hydrothermal uranium ore veins. The reason why he found so many large numbers of polonium radiohalos was because there was larger concentrations of uranium associated with these minerals. So the numbers of radiohalos in granites could also be used as a way of exploring for new ore deposits. And so my ongoing research at the moment is going to areas where we know there are mineral veins and looking at the numbers of radiohalos to compare the numbers of radiohalos with barren areas of granite where there are no ore veins. Because if I can demonstrate that the numbers of polonium radiohalos are related to the water volume that could transport the metals, it's a potential exploration method for finding new ore deposits. So don't let anyone tell you that creationist research doesn't have potential practical applications. So that's what I'm currently doing in my research, that these polonium radiohalos, therefore if they're associated, this is the other thing, if they're associated with the formation of these metal deposits and the polonium radiohalos form within days, it also means that the ore deposits formed within days. Okay, so this is why I titled the talk Radiohalos not only as evidence for accelerated nuclear decay, but evidence for catastrophic geological processes. One last diagram. This is in the second of the rate books. I plotted here the conventional age of a granite with a number of radiohalos per slide, a rock slide that I examined. And if you, just for a ballpark, decide that the Precambrian granites, older than 600 million years, are pre-flood, and the granites above that are flood, and you might get a few at the end of the flood. Notice the numbers of radiohalos actually peaked during the flood. Now, why would you think that would be the case? Lots of hot water during Noah's flood. Well, let's conclude. Radiohalos provide evidence of hundreds of millions of years worth of decay at today's rate that has been accelerated. So they provide a new model for the rapid cooling of granites in 6 to 10 days, a new model for the rapid formation and cooling of metamorphic rocks in only days to weeks, a potential model for the rapid formation of hydrothermal, that's hot water mineral deposits, in only days or week. And of course these timescales for these processes would thus be consistent within a biblical year-long flood event only 4,300 or so years ago. You see where I'm going with this research? It's not only about showing that the decay rates were accelerated and therefore you can't trust the dating methods, but there are geological processes that our opponents have said to us, ha-ha, they took millions of years. Now we're showing no. They only took days to weeks, and that is compatible with the biblical account of Earth history. So not only are the radioactive dating methods unreliable and require a new model to account for much decay at accelerated rates within the scriptural time frame of Earth history of only about 6,000 years.